Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. I want to tell you that's the largest confetti. But I must say, I'm glad that you occasioned it with a little bit of confetti, because this is our return in our nighttime slot, our new slot, on Monday evening, so we hope you'll all be with us every Monday. And good evening to you, wonderful people.
Good evening, Bud.
Have a very exciting new way to play To Tell the Truth with Betty Davis and two imposters later on in the show. But right now, let's meet our first team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Barney Hill.
My name is Barney Hill.
My name is Barney Hill.
Please follow along while I read from my copy of this story, if you will, panel. I, Barney Hill, and my wife, Betty, were driving home one night when we sighted something unusual in the sky. I got out of the car and, with a pair of binoculars, saw through the windows in the disc-shaped object several human-type figures. I ran back to the car, and in a state of near panic, we sped down the road toward home. Then we heard a series of beeps, and both of us felt a tingling sensation. The next thing either of us clearly remembered was again driving the car toward home, but it was 2 hours later, and we were 35 miles further down the road. After months of nightmares and mental distress, we sought medical assistance from a distinguished psychiatrist. Under time regression by hypnosis, both Betty and I independently gave almost identical accounts of a meeting with intelligent humanoid beings who halted our car, took us aboard their spacecraft, examined us physically, and released us unharmed. Neither Betty nor I can prove that this happened, and as a matter of fact, we really hope that it didn't. But nobody, even the technical people with whom we talked, have been able to positively refute our almost incredible story. Signed, Barney Hill. Incidentally, panel, the story of Betty and Barney Hill is the subject of a fascinating book by John G. Fuller called The Interrupted Journey. Let's start the questioning with Orson Bean. Orson?
Thank you. Well, whoever you are, I want you to know that I read every word of the story that was printed in the magazine about you, and I believe it. It's impossible to disbelieve. Number two, how tall were these humanoid creatures?
Well, they were short. When you speak of height, if I had to estimate height, I would say about 5'9" or 5'10" at the most.
Number
really,
three, did they speak English?
Not in an actual speaking type voice. There was something like thought transference.
Number one, what physical symptoms did you later notice? I'm referring to physical things that appeared on you.
Warts.
Warts.
Yes.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number two, I also read the story with enormous interest. I'm delighted to meet you. What did you ask for something to take home from the spaceship?
Well, it wasn't me. It was Betty who asked for something to take home. And it was a book of which we thought we could have some use for. We later found out we couldn't read the book at all.
Number three, how many of these creatures were there?
Oh, I would say between 13, 14.
Number one, when you were examined physically, were you examined in the usual sense that we would make an examination on Earth?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
Number two, did you find no differences between the examination that they were interested in and, let's say, an ordinary physician, Earth physician, would have?
Well, there were differences. Definite differences. Yes.
Number three, did you go to Harvard to have any consultations?
I'm sorry, Kitty. Tom.
Thank you, Bud. This is a great story. We could spend a lot of time, and I will. Number one, do you actually have any memories of this?
Yes.
Number two, do you agree?
Oh, yes, definitely.
What form did they take? Did you have memories of it after you were awakened on driving back down the road?
Well, I had some memories from Indian Head, which is a point in New Hampshire when this whole thing started. Of course, now I have more vivid memories because of the hypnosis that
Let me ask number 3 that. Were you reminded of things that happened under hypnosis, or did you ever remember any of them without the hypnosis?
Only the things I saw consciously. The things that happened under hypnosis was the trip into the abduction, actual abduction into the ship.
Well, what I mean is, number 1, were you alert when you were in the ship and awake?
More like in a somnambulistic state.
Then you...
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number 2, when they examined you, did they stick needles in you?
Not needles, needle.
Only one needle? Number 1, did they stick a needle in Betty, too?
Yes, they stuck a needle in Betty.
Were they like our needles, number 1?
I didn't see the needle.
Oh. Number 3, is the inside of that space thing, is it furnished like a laboratory or more like a living room?
I would say more like a laboratory.
Uh-huh. Now, number 1, were they the same build as us? I mean, you know, or did they, like, have pointy heads or something?
No, they had large cranium, and the chin was very small.
Wouldn't you know it? Number 3, when did the U.S. government come and try, like Major Donald Keogh and those people, did they try to question you on what happened in that spaceship?
Well, we reported it initially to Pease Air Force Base in Portsmouth, and we...
That's all the time we have. Wish we did have more. It's a fascinating story. So mark your ballots, if you will, please, without any consultation, and, of course, without changing once you have marked. Vote now for number 1, number 2, or number 3. And our team of challengers will, of course, receive the usual $250 for each incorrect vote. Your ballots all marked? Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 1, Bud. I couldn't tell anything from the stories that they each told, but he looked like the kind of man who would have binoculars handy in his car.
Peggy Cass.
Well, number 2 said that they were very short, 5 foot 8 or 9. Gee, I know a lot of guys that'd be sore at that kind of a comment. They think they're tall at 5 foot 8 or 9. So I voted for number 1 because they had big heads and receding chins, and wouldn't you know it?
Orson B.
I think that there's 2 great liars up there, and I had no way of judging except that the whole thing took place around New England, and when I asked number 1 about the warts, he said Watts. They had Watts on. And I'm from New England, too, and I know that Watts is Watts.
Kitty Carlisle.
I voted for number 2 because as I read the story, the physical examination that these humanoid creatures gave was not exactly like the kind you'd have if you went into an ordinary doctor's office anywhere on the earth.
Very well. The votes are all in. Mine's made up as you heard. And now let's find out which one of these 3 gentlemen, in truth, is Barney Hill. Will the real Barney Hill please stand up? Thank you, sir. Glad they let you back to us safe and sound. That's important, too.
Did the headaches and things go away? All of his bad...
Actually, there weren't headaches. There was distress. I developed an ulcer, and Betty had a series of dreams that lasted for about 5 days.
That's all gone now.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Good.
Number 2, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Howard Johnson. I'm a sales representative for Sussex Clothes in New York City.
Thank you, sir. Number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
I'm Dr. Theodore Stent. I'm chief of the X-ray department, Harlem Hospital, Columbia University.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for that wonderful story. And there was one incorrect vote as we checked to see. Then that, of course, is worth $250. And we thank you very much for being with us tonight. Hope it was a pleasant visit for you as it was for us. Goodbye and God bless you. We'll meet our next team of challengers in just a minute after this message.